This is the Cal One-on-One podcast on Cape Atlantic Live. Here's your host, Nick Kosko.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Cal One-on-One podcast right here on Cape Atlantic Live. I'm your host, Nick Kosko, and with me today is Mike McGarry of the Press of Atlantic City, the award-winning Mike McGarry. You're all over the place, Mike. You are one of the best here in South Jersey, so I appreciate you joining me on the show. And, of course, no better source to go to for a little whip around to recap the 2023 high school football season.
Yeah, great to be here, and it was a great high school football season. It goes fast. It seems like just a couple of days ago we were out, by the Ocean City Boardwalk, and then of course it ends in the rain at Rutgers. But high school football, it's amazing how fast the season goes.
Yeah, it really does, considering it does start earlier than usual, 2 weeks before school even starts. So most of these teams are getting already two games worth already before they even step foot into the hallways in the classroom. So you mentioned Rutgers University, you mentioned the rain, the epic performance from Mainland. So we'll start there. 56-0 over Ramapo, 14-0, first team to ever do that out of South Jersey. They win the NJ Group 4 state title. Now, again, everyone thought this Mainland team was going to be very competitive this year, but most said they're still not going to get past Millville, and sure enough, they got past Millville, got past Winslow, and got past Ramapo, all in dominating fashion along the way. Your initial thoughts on this Mainland team as you saw up at Rutgers University capping off what is considered one of the greatest seasons ever?
Yeah, well, this is just the second year, right, that New Jersey has played to a true state champion in each of the public school enrollment groups, and I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find a run maybe 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 50 years from now, when you look back at the history of this thing, a performance of the 5 playoff games better than Mainland. They capped the perfect season with the perfect performance against Ramapo, scored on their first 8 possessions. Really something that, that is unbelievable and I've never seen before. And like I said, this is only the second year of playing out the true state champions, but I can't believe that there's going to be another team that comes along and does what Mainland did this year anytime soon.
Yeah, this team definitely stands out, considering I know head coach Chuck Smith talked about last year's missed opportunity against Millville, and arguably, they had some better players last year, like a Jabril Mace, who wasn't on this team, but this was a collective effort. And I know in my younger experience in covering high school sports and being around the area for, between the last 5 and 10 years, I've personally never seen a team like this. When you put it all together, I know you recently wrote a story for the Press of AC asking a lot of Mainland alum if that was the best team in school history. It's hard to argue otherwise, especially with the 2 extra games and the overall state championship. But in Mainland history and even just the Cape Atlantic area, have you ever really seen a high school football team play that well collectively over the course of 14 weeks?
Yeah, I really have to think about it, but I would have to say no right now. And you do have some recency bias, right? We just saw them on Sunday, so they're fresh in our minds, but I put them right up there with, I think they're the greatest team, as I wrote this week, in Mainland history. And I would have to put them right up there as the greatest in sort of, for lack of a better term, even though it doesn't exist in any more Cape Atlantic League football, right? And some of the contenders you would go back to, that I've seen, that 95 Mainland team that I wrote about that, was 11-1 or 12-1 and beat Woodrow Wilson and Dave Klemick and John Stone. Great team. The 96 Ocean City Red Raiders with Kevin Sinclair, 11-0. The 2007 Holy Spirit team with William Washington that beat Immaculata and Theo Riddick. Great team. I think it was the 2010 Holy Spirit team that had Joe Sarnice that beat St. Joe Montvale to win a state title. Great team. And then there's, a number of St. Joe teams, Jack Corcoran around the 205 era, right. Max Valles and Kaiwan Lewis. Not sure of that year, but that year they went 10-0 and really dominated. So this Mainland team is right there with them. And what this Mainland team did, I think the thing might separate them is they got better each week. They were better against Colts Neck than they were against Manalapan, their first-round playoff opponent. They were better against Millville than they were against Colts Neck. They were better against Winslow than they were against Millville, and they were better against Ramapo than maybe they've been all season long. So to have a team that continues to get better and better week after week, that's a coach's dream, and it's a dream because it rarely ever happens, but it happened for this year's Mainland team.
Yeah, they went on a run that was unlike any other. But like you said, maybe 20, 30, 50 years down the line, we'll see another team do something very similar. So, but it might be a while, obviously, after seeing them play this year. So speaking of one of the other teams we've already mentioned, Millville, again, they were the defending state champions coming into the year. They had a tough game against Toms River North to open up at the Battle of the Beach, but they had one of the best defenses in South Jersey, some of the best offensive skill talent you'll see around the entire state of New Jersey, but they came up short this year to Mainland in that sectional final. But again, a lot of talent, some talent leaving, some coming back. Your overall thoughts on Millville here in 2023?
Yeah, a great season for the Thunderbolts, right? And when you look back on it now, I know the final score of that Mainland game was 35-13, but it was a touchdown game. It was a competitive game for most of the game. And now you look back on it and you see what Mainland did after beating Millville, and you say to yourself, boy, Millville played Mainland probably tougher than anybody, and probably the Group 4 state title game was at Wheaton Field that night, right? The winner of that game was probably going to win the state title game. Millville, a lot of talent, and I think it starts with Losier Brooks, right? The great junior wide receiver and defensive back, had a great season. 3 years, he already holds the South Jersey record for career receiving yards, career touchdowns. He intercepted 6 passes this year, returned 3 for touchdowns. Really one of the remarkable seasons you've ever seen from a South Jersey player, and a reason why he's being recruited by schools like Alabama, Georgia, Penn State, Rutgers. Everybody's in on him. And Millville's got a lot of talent coming back. They graduate guys. Jacob Zamat, the quarterback, goes. But they've got, Brooks back. They've got Jaden Jones, a sophomore defensive lineman who's got D1 interest back. So, look for Millville not to fall off too much and have another, be again among South Jersey's top teams next season.
Definitely another Group 4 contender coming back in 2024. Again, Mike McGarry, the Press of AC, on with me here on the Cal 101 podcast on Cape Atlantic Live, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Some of the parochial schools down here, Mike, again, everyone always says, well, South Jersey parochial schools, not quite North Jersey, which in most years is true, but St. Augustine Prep and Holy Spirit both had pretty good campaigns. The Prep fell short to Donovan Catholic for the second time this year in the playoffs in non-public A, and Holy Spirit gave Red Bank Catholic a run for their money in the non-public B semifinal scores. Red Bank Catholic ended up winning the state title in that group. Just your thoughts on the Prep and as well as Holy Spirit this year, especially Holy Spirit. I think they really exceeded expectations here in 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Holy Spirit and St. Augustine had great seasons to build on, especially Holy Spirit. When they finished 8-2, they won the WJFL Continental Division. They went up to Red Bank Catholic, who eventually won non-public B. And in that semifinal game, they played Red Bank Catholic very tough. I believe the score was 35-21. They only had 8 seniors on the roster. They've got a lot of talent coming back. The quarterback, Ty Costable, got valuable experience, made some big plays all season. Ryan Mallon had a great season. Amir Hicks at running back. Nick Medina anchored the defense at linebacker. So I would think going into next season, a lot of big expectations for Holy Spirit, a great season. And I think if you asked anybody connected with the Holy Spirit program before the season started, did you think you were going to finish 8-2? They would have told you no. So that team definitely overachieved and, left themselves something to build on for next season. And for St. Augustine, a great season, one of the great defenses in South Jersey. Matt Bonzak at linebacker, anchoring it on the offensive end of the ball, a ground attack led by running back Julian Turney. A tough loss up at Donovan Catholic, 7-6, a game that could have gone anyway in the non-public A quarterfinals. But again, a great season for St. Augustine and something to build on going into next year with guys back like Julian Turney back. You can build on this season going into next year.
And those are really the big 4 teams that have been focused on here in 2023 based on their success, especially in the playoffs. Of course, we've talked about Mainland, Millville, Prep, and Holy Spirit. Were there any other teams within the Cape Atlantic area that really stood out to you, despite the fact that maybe they didn't get to a sectional final, or maybe they just only got to the playoffs and that was pretty much it? I know a team that comes to mind, at least for me, is a team like down in Cape May County. Middle Township stood out to me this year. A great season this year in Frank Rigatano's final season in 2023. Any other standout teams this year that maybe surprised you a little bit and that had pretty good runs here in the fall?
Yeah, I don't know anybody really surprised, but there are a lot of great teams that had great seasons. You start down in Cape May. I mean, you mentioned Middle Township. Mike Zarfati had a great season at wide receiver and defensive back for them. I believe they went 7-3, had some big wins, got to the playoffs. Lower Cape May didn't make the playoffs, but went 8-2, I think, set or tied a school record for wins. Isaiah Carr Wing led the league and led the area in rushing, had 1,800 yards rushing. Great season for him. You move back into Atlantic County, you got Cedar Creek, a great season. I believe they went to a sectional final there,
Yep.
Losing to Camden in a Group 3 sectional final. Billy Smith at quarterback, Alim Parks at wide receiver. He had a great season, 10 touchdown catches. So that was a great year for Cedar Creek. And then, a lot of great individual performances, right? Kenny Smith at Hamilton, junior running back, had another great season. And our guy, Sinai DeGraffenwright, wide receiver, Ice Cup at Atlantic City, 99-yard touchdown catch against Holy Spirit. You can't do any better than that, right? Had a great season, got scholarship offers from Georgia, Penn State, Rutgers too. So a lot of great performances this high school football season around Cape May, Atlantic, Cumberland, and Southern Ocean counties there.
I was actually just about to ask you about that, Noam, because I feel like over the last couple of years, we've talked about more guys who are getting a lot of those Power 5 Division I looks now. So you mentioned Sinai DeGraffenwright. We've already mentioned Lazier Brooks from Millville as well. Guys like that, all of a sudden you see not only just Rutgers, which it has been traditionally down here in South Jersey, like the Meltons over at Cedar Creek, for example, but now you see Rutgers, Penn State, Syracuse is probably going to come back down to South Jersey, but now you see the Georgias, the Alabamas. What is it about the talent in South Jersey? Is it just getting finally noticed, or is the influx of talent just getting better and better over the last 5 or so years?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just being noticed. South Jersey has always had a lot of great players in the area. You go back to, talk Mainland regional history, go back to Greg Buttle in the 1970s there, played for Mainland, went on to start Penn State and had a great career with the New York Jets. So there's always been talent in South Jersey. I just think we're in like a good run or golden age kind of talent there, basically. And a lot of the Georgia offers came from, I believe, Fran Brown, the guy, coach from Camden, an assistant down there at Georgia, who just became the head guy at Syracuse. So we'll see if there's a pipeline from South Jersey to Syracuse. There's already a couple of guys up there. Former Millville coach Dennis Thomas is an assistant up there. LeQuint Allen from Millville, who was our player of the year a couple of years ago, is up there. So we'll see what happens. But I just think we're in, kind of the ebbs and flows of high school sports, right? We're just in kind of a golden age. And, it's great to flip on the TV and see, Isaiah Pacheco of Violin, starring for the Kansas City Chiefs every Sunday. And Bo Melton got the dress for the Green Bay Packers the other day. And Max Melton's probably going to be a high round draft pick out of Rutgers this year. So, for whatever the reason is, we're just kind of in a golden age here. Maybe nothing succeeds like success, sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the digital age is definitely helping out as well, considering, you have access all over the place, and definitely a good way to highlight South Jersey. So looking ahead to next year, again, it is early. We're about to actually turn the corner to basketball season in just a couple of weeks. I'm sure we're going to have you back on for that as well. So, but looking ahead to 2024, I know there is no traditional Cape Atlantic League anymore for football. Hasn't been for, I think, about a decade now. But the division's realigned again for West Jersey Football League. I'm already looking at that top division. It's Mainland, Millville, Cherokee, Winslow. I think I'm forgetting somebody at the top of there, I believe. Yes, St. Augustine. So you look at that division already. I think that's the one everyone's going to talk about just based on the quality of teams. But what do you make of the realignment going into 2024 with that? We'll start with that division, but also just what else have you noticed with the new division starting in 2024?
Yeah, I thought for the most part, the WJFL did a good job in realigning the divisions. I mean, I recognize that division that we just mentioned is going to be the elite division. That's the powers. And I know the argument that you're basing it off what happened in the past and, you're not gauging the division on what happened in the future. But I think those 5 teams are all going to be pretty good next year. And Mainland's coming up a 14-0 season. Who do we want to see him play St. Augustine, right? We want to see him play. We want to see the Mainland Millville rematch, right? We want to see that. We want to see a Mainland Winslow rematch. And Mainland's going to be pretty good next season. They graduate a lot, but the quarterback, John Franchini, is back. He had a great season. He'll have 2 years under his belt. By the time he's done, he's going to be one of these guys who seems like he's in high school for 35 years, right? Because he started as a freshman, started as a sophomore. He's only a junior next year. How good is he going to be next year? Rocco DiBiaso is back at running back. They got a couple guys back up front. So I think Mainland's going to be all right. And I think that division is going to be put together a lot of great games. The other thing that the WJFL did is that for the most part, now I know Pleasantville is out there. They're probably not happy. They're out there on a division, kind of an island on their own with teams from Burlington County and all over the place. But for the most part, they kept the Cape Atlantic League teams together. I think Atlantic City's in a division with Holy Spirit and Ocean City. I think Middle and Lower Cape May are in a division. And that's what I think the WJFL needed to do. They needed to base the divisions on geography and school enrollment size and keep them as similar as you can so you build some tradition. Right now, I don't think if you ask a coach, like what division they played in and name their division, they couldn't name it, right? Most coaches couldn't. Am I the Royal? Am I the American? Am I the Continental? They don't know what division they are, So keep the divisions based on geography and enrollment, which they did for the most part this time around. And then the difference is your crossover games, right? If you think you're going to be good this year, then you get really good crossovers. If you say I'm going to be a little down this year, then you look for teams on the other side of the state that are kind of in your same boat. But I like what they did, keeping a lot of the Cape Atlantic League teams together for the most part. Even that elite division at the top still is 3 of the 5 teams are Cape Atlantic League teams, St. Augustine, Millville, and Mainland. So, I think they did a good job. It's never going to be perfect. The West Jersey Football League, the bottom line is it saved South Jersey football. The Cape Atlantic League could not exist the way it was going, the way football was going. It made it easy, or it enabled programs like Lower, like Pleasantville, like Wildwood to sort of take a breath, get their feet under them, and start to rebuild. So the West Jersey Football League, is everything they do perfect? No. Is there room for improvement? Yes. But the bottom line is the WJFL and the Cape Atlantic League joining that league saved football in South Jersey.
I think that's a good way to put it as well. And you mentioned the enrollment groups trying to keep those bigger schools together, the smaller schools together. One that stands out to me, I know they're going to be rebuilding programs for 2024. One division, again, I forget the name of it at this point, but like EHT, Bridgeton, and now the new program, ACIT, they will share a division in 2024, which leads me to my next point. And as much as you can answer it, because again, they're not going to be a varsity program until next year, but ACIT, what do you make of them finally making the jump? I know they added football. They've been playing a JV schedule. They're not a traditional Cape Atlantic League football team. They've had the other sports, but now they're going to be a Group 5 school, I believe, in 2024. What are your thoughts on ACIT making the jump next fall?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens and what transpires, right? I mean, there's an awful lot of people that think that ACIT, with its ability to draw from all over Atlantic County, with its facilities and its excellent academics, are going to be a place that a lot of athletes, a lot of football players are going to want to go to. A lot of people think ACIT will, quickly become a power in football. We will see. It's not always easy. I think football is the toughest sport to build a winner in. Why? Because you need a lot of guys. I mean, basketball, you need 2 or 3 people. Baseball, give me a pitcher, a shortstop, and 2 good hitters, and we're on our way. A lot of the other sports, you can get by with a couple of people. Football, you need 30 guys, 35 guys. You need depth in the program, in case there's injuries. You need depth in the program to practice against. You need guys to do the scout team, all that good stuff right there. So I think it's the toughest of all sports to sort of build a winner in. But there's a lot of people that think ACIT, let's put it this way, ACIT has the ingredients there with their, first of all, their academics at the school, the facilities at the school, and their ability to draw from all over Atlantic County. The ingredients are there for ACIT to be a very good program.
Mike McGarry, President of Atlantic City, with me on Cal One-on-One on Cape Atlantic Live, of course, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service. Mike, one more for you before I get you out of here. It's tough to tell what to project for next year. Do you anticipate more of the same in 2024 from a lot of the teams that we saw have success this year? Or do you think there's going to be another team that's going to say, you know what, we took our lumps this year, like a Mainland, they took their lumps for 2 years under that current senior class and then exploded the last 2 seasons. Do you see any team like that next year as far as these early projections are concerned for next fall?
Yeah, I think, somebody always emerges, right? That's the great thing about high school sports. We can say, yeah, Millville's going to be pretty good next year. We think St. Augustine's going to be pretty good next year. We think Holy Spirit's going to be pretty good next year. But somebody's going to emerge, right? Maybe it's an Oakcrest with Donovan Linthicum, who had a great season as a sophomore linebacker for them. Maybe he emerges. Maybe, it seems a little weird to say, hey, maybe Mainland flies under the radar, but they graduate a lot. Maybe they're as good as they were, close to as good as they were this season. So maybe EHT improves, second year for Coach Rob Davis out there. We mentioned ACIT. Team I think worth taking a look at is Ocean City. I think Ocean City played a tough schedule this year. I think they've got, some good football players on that team. They had a lot of juniors. You remember they opened the season with a win over Pleasantville, and they just had a brutal schedule. Well, next year they get some schedule relief. So that's a team we might want to keep an eye out for. And Pleasantville, right? Malachi Timberlake doing a great job over there at Pleasantville. They've got some college prospects over there. The quarterback, Ahmad Ross, finished up a great sophomore season. So as we go through, I'm saying, what about this team? What about that team? And I'm getting pumped for next year because, this year was a great year, but we got a lot of talented guys and players and coaches coming back next year. So next year should be just as much fun.
We can't wait for 2024, but we will get through basketball and the other winter sports such as wrestling, which is my foray, of course, in the winter. And then, of course, the great spring season with baseball, track, and the rest of that as well. Mike, appreciate the time as always. Looking forward to talking to you again. We'll have to have you on pretty soon again to preview high school basketball coming up in just 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks. Anytime. I really enjoyed it. Thanks.
Mike McGarry, the Press of Atlantic City, right here on Cal 1-on-1, presented by Ulmer's Appliance Service, right here on Cape Atlantic Live.